So Nan asked me to come and chat with you about technology in the future, and I thought I can virtually do anything I want and talk about anything I want, because the future is looking quite interesting. And if you think about it, in our lifetimes, I was thinking, and I could probably do the whole presentation, just on the fact that we landed after a 10-year journey through billions of kilometres of space. We landed a probe on a comet. I mean, unbelievable, unimaginable. You know, think about what's happened in our lifetime. It really has been remarkable. And if I think what has happened in my grandmother's lifetime, I mean, there weren't even planes when she was born. Imagine that. And I had a wake-up call. I was talking to a couple of ladies outside, and I have and I might have mentioned it previously, but I've got a 9-year-old just going on 10, really going on 20. But I've had a couple of experiences with him recently. The classic experience was we were driving in the car, we were talking about something, I can't remember exactly what it was, but what struck me was, I said, oh, well, just Google it. And he said, so is that what you did at school? And I said, no, I didn't. I used to go to the library, and Nana and Nonna, they had a Encyclopedia Britannica, you know, the conding to the 24th. And of course, the key line in that was when the Encyclopedia Britannica salesman came, it'll mean your son's future. If he doesn't have these books, I've never opened one of them. I used to use them as doorstops. Anyway, and he said, I said, you Google it. And he said, so was there Google when you went to school? And I said, no. He said, oh, come on. I said, no, there was no. And he said, so how did you stream the cricket? I didn't. In fact, you know, when I was born, there was, for a long time, there was no television. He said, no, come on. They're pulling my leg. And this was after a little incident that we had in the park. I was keeping film in the fridge. And that's where you used to keep film, those of you that are avid photographers, yeah. And I'd had some black and white film for about 8-10 years in the fridge. And my partner said, okay, this is it. Either you get rid of it or I get rid of it. So I thought, look, it's beautiful black and white, I'll go out and shoot it. So I went down the park and I was taking some close-ups, and he leaned over my shoulder and said, so your camera's busted? And I said, no, it's working perfectly. He says, no, picture on the back. and I said, no, there is no picture, it's film. And I started to explain how you put a roll of film in and you hope you shoot the lot, these 36 photos. And then I said, you take it to the chemist. He said, no, you don't. Sick people go to the chemist. You don't get film developed at the chemist. And I said, well, Mr. Kodak used to come around in his yellow truck and he'd pick it up, and a week later he'd get it back. And he said, what if you want to send Nana some pictures? And I said, well, then you see these little numbers on the bottom of the exposed film. You write those down, you take them to the shop, you hope that they read them properly and send them back. And then you pick them up, you put them in an envelope, put a stamp on it, and hope that Australia Post delivered it. And he just looked at me and said, but why? And I didn't have an answer. So the future is already here, it's just not evenly distributed. Let's get into this, otherwise we're going to run out of time, because that's already going to happen. So what we're going to look at is chaos. Right? And chaos as a good thing, not a bad thing. We always tend to look at chaos or chaotic times as being something that's bad. But what we want to have a look at is what's called disruptive innovation. And we're going to take a closer look. And some of the technologies that we're going to look at, and I was just talking about this, in our lifetime, in fact, in the last 20 years, this is really interesting. This is Michelle and Barack Obama at the Commander-in-Chief ball at January 21, 2013. What are all those little lights? Mobile phones. They're not even digital cameras, they're mobile phones. Exactly 20 years earlier, and we use our phones as, in fact, Australians take 206 million pictures a week. A week. But you know what? More than 73% of us say that we've lost photos that are irreplaceable. Now, they got wet, we ran over the memory card, we put the memory card in and we went over the photos without, because we thought we'd back them up. You know, there's a whole range of things. So 73% of us say that we've lost photos that are absolutely irreplaceable. But interestingly, this is the inauguration, 21st of January 1993 of Bill and Hillary Clinton. All the cameras there, I don't know whether you can see them, but all the cameras are professional cameras. No one's got a mobile phone there taking photos. They didn't do that at that point, 20 odd years ago. And in that time, we've seen the demise of Kodak. Now, who would have thought the company that invented digital photography would hit broadside by disruptive innovation, just absolutely wiped out. Now, that's when it's not a good thing. That's when chaos and management hasn't been good. But if we go back, if we wind back 20 years, and I said to you, in 2014, we will be talking about the fact that Kodak really doesn't exist anymore. The name is still out there. Who owns Kodak's several million patents? Apple and Google. Interesting, huh? So I'm going to talk about the future. Now you've got to remember all these words because Nan's going to give you a test before you go. You're not allowed out of here, are they, Nan? No. We're going to talk about the internet and technology, generally communications, social media and how you market with it. We'll talk about big data. This is getting really good, isn't it? But of course, a lot of you want to know what the next big thing is. Yes, tell me what the next big thing is. Now, of course, if I knew what the next big thing was, I would be on the Whitsundays in my yacht, and the crew would be just bringing up my dinner. But I'm not. Look, I'm here. Go figure. So obviously I don't know what the next big thing is, but we can look at some of the trends and perhaps you can come and share what you think the next big thing is with me. So we're going to look at it as the great disruptor, a catalyst for change and the next generation growth cycle. You know, there's been, since 1901, there have been 18 financial downturns. And in each financial downturn, we've been told that this is the end of innovative technology, new technology. And in fact, it's been quite the opposite. It's been technology that's dragged us out of the hole every time. There's always detractors. In fact, you can go back, and probably the only one that technology was really hammered by was the 1929 crash. But other than that, every financial downturn, and we've just been through one, is rescued by a change in technology. So let's take a look. Now, generally when we talk about the future, most people think about Now, I think that's a really positive way of looking at it, right? Now, I've been really nasty in doing that because you'll start singing that song tonight. Right? You remember that so well. And in fact, then I thought, there's a lot of people who have a really negative outlook on the future of technology. And this is even worse. This will stick in there for a week. there's one constant in today's consumer and business society, business environment, and that's the accelerating rate of technological change. We're seeing technology change at such a rapid rate, and you know, the prediction was it was going to slow down, that sales of technology and the uses of technology would decline. And in fact, it's done anything but do that. It's gone the other way. We've seen huge changes in terms of what the technology is delivering for us today, and what it will deliver in a short time. And a lot of the problems, and I have a great deal of faith that, you know, I do think that there is climate change happening, but I think that we're going to find ways to deploy technology that will make a real difference. So we have been through two technology revolutions, if you think about it. So the first one was a communications revolution, and the second one has been an information revolution. And if you think about the two, it's really interesting how they've melded together and what we're seeing today in terms of the technology available to us. So if you think about the very first one, the communications revolution, what was the key element that defined that? And if you go back 20 years now, some of you had that phone, right? It was called the Motorola Brick. It weighed over 1 kilo. It had 2 hours of standby time. It could hold 8 numbers. 8 numbers. It was really exciting. Now, in a mere 20 years, we've gone from that to something I can put in my back pocket like that has more computing power in it than the average desktop computer had in Australian homes just 3 years ago. So it's got an 8-core processor in it. It's got a 5.6-inch screen. It's a huge screen. It's got high definition. It's a high definition screen. It's a remarkable device, and if you think about your desktop computer, even today, it doesn't know where it is in the world. This has got GPS built in. It's got 4G. It's got 3G. It's got a whole range of technologies built into it. So we've evolved, the phone's evolved, and isn't it interesting how it got this smaller? So we had much smaller, like these Nokias. You know Nokia, the name Nokia won't be used anymore. Microsoft bought them and they've axed the name, apparently. It's happened in the last week or so. And then as you move out to the edges here, what we're looking at is the bigger phones. Thank heavens, because as they were getting smaller, I couldn't read them anymore. But you know, having a larger screen makes a huge difference. And the information revolution, you've seen some of that with Mike. I believe Microsoft was here and showing in product. The iPad. You know what I love about this device? I mean, most of you, all of you, I'm sure, are computer literate and probably can handle a desktop computer better than I can. But as a ambassador for Telstra, I've been going out and talking to seniors around the country for the last 5 years. And what really works for me is that I can stand up with a group of seniors that really have had enormous amount of trouble operating a computer. And I say to them, in 10 minutes, using just that, I'm going to make you absolutely competent on a tablet, on a computer device, a computing device. And they laugh at me. They've been struggling with a mouse for a year now, and they still can't get it to work properly. But here with an iPad, suddenly using gestures, you want to make something bigger, you take your fingers apart. You want to move something. And of course, we all know the stories on and seen the pictures on YouTube of the kids going up to the television trying to change it. Have you seen the IKEA book, the video? If I've got time at the end, I'll play it for you. If not, look it up. Just Google book. And it's like IKEA's lampoon at the tablet. It's exceedingly well done. It really is an excellent little video clip. So it's just called the IKEA book. So and how often is it, we had Bruce Willis thankfully saved the Earth when he landed on a comet. How often does real life follow Hollywood, or does art follow the reality? We are going to see a huge change in the way we interact, interface, and work with computing devices. Particularly wearable devices, and I'll talk a bit more about those later. They're going to be incredibly disruptive, but at the same time amazingly innovative in that it's going to save many, many lives. The ability to work on devices or communicate with devices in a simpler, more gesture-based manner is something that we've seen. And I thought this clip, I'm not sure if I played it last year, but I thought this clip worked really well. So this is Iron Man. So imagine if you had layers of information which you could lift and you could wade through and take out the bits you want. And if you look at what he's doing, he's using gestures. He points at something, makes something smaller, makes something bigger, gets rid of things. They're similar to the gestures that we use on the iPad. Very similar. Bigger, smaller. So essentially what he's doing is wading through the information, and very shortly, and I've seen this demonstrated, very shortly you'll be able to do a similar kind of thing. All the information that's resident on your hard drives or your flash drives all comes down to you from the cloud, will come down in a form that allows you to move through it, to access bits of it, bring bits together, and of course you'll still be able to write. I had this conversation with the lady outside. The ability, what a lot of people are complaining about when students come out of high school and go into university is that they can't write, they can't spell, they have no idea about punctuation. And of course, the counter argument is, well, they actually don't need that anymore. But we won't. I might go home battered and bruised. I'll have trouble explaining it. But the information revolution we're currently going through, the communications revolution is done and dusted, but the information revolution still has quite a deal of momentum and quite a deal of time for it to continue to grow. What's driving this is powerful processors. So Intel, and I think I mentioned this last year, Intel was announced that they would stop manufacturing the chips for desktop computers in January of this year. So when I was here last year, I mentioned that was happening, and it's happened. Intel's closed down its factories or redesigned its factories so that it would only be making mobile devices, or largely mobile devices. So several of its factories that made processors for PCs have shut down or, as I said, rebuilt. The other factor is high-speed broadband. We're kind of getting it in some places, probably not as much as we need to interact with the global digital economy, but we are getting high-speed broadband. The other thing is distributed computing, which has happened. The connectivity, I can connect to your computer, you can connect to mine, and the millions and millions of computers around the world can connect to each other. And smart and intelligent mobile devices, and that's a key factor in this whole information revolution process. So as you can see, all the components are there, and the future in terms of the innovative disruption that this will lead to is absolutely terrific. So we're going to see some huge changes, and we'll have a look at some of those. But in 2013, mobile devices outsold PCs for the first time. So that's all computers, notebooks, desktops, servers, the whole lot. The top smartphone apps are reaching the kind of audience it took other technologies decades to reach. And the number of apps, the fact that there's been more than 1 billion apps downloaded up till now, and by 2016 that number will have more than doubled in terms of apps. And again, 5 years ago, if I talked to you about apps, you would have looked at me and laughed. And mobile computing has arrived. The question is, now that it's ubiquitous, what comes after it? What kind of technology are we going to see? And a lot of the technology that we are going to see is based on the fact that we've got all those elements coming together. They're acting as a disruptive technology and changing everything. Now, one of the last meetings that Bill Gates had with Steve Jobs, Steve Jobs came up with the term the post-PC era. So he was calling this information revolution the post-PC era. Of course, Bill Gates argued vociferously about the fact that that wasn't happening. It just wasn't happening. There was no chance that you would see mobile devices surpass desktop devices, and of course they've done it since. So Gates was wrong, but he's making huge changes in his surface computing technology that kind of melds together, and you can see how the technologies are melded. So it's a tablet and a notebook all in one. It's kind of schizophrenic in terms of the way it performs, but it's a terrific device. And I particularly like it because Microsoft has had many excursions into hardware, and the results haven't been that good. I think they actually got it right this time. What's your feeling? You got it? Yeah. It's a good product. The other thing that I kind of don't understand, and perhaps some of you can take me aside a bit later, is that what we're doing and the emotional hype that's involved with Apple technology. What's going on there? How come people will sleep out in the street for 3 days to be first in the door, or second or third or 10th or 100th in the door, to get an iPad, an iPod, or not iPods anymore, but iPhones? I don't get it. I predicted that the iPhone 6 wouldn't raise. And look at it. I just, yeah. What is the emotion that people? There's a generation that I don't get. I think it's wonderful that they love the technology, but apps are really interesting. The app numbers are astronomical. So 138.8 billion this year, it's predicted. By 2016, 224 billion apps will have been downloaded. That's an amazing number of apps. And the ability to develop apps, in the business I'm in, which is developing content, the number of times designers have turned to me and there's got to be an app for that. It's an app for everything. And the iPhone 6, a sales record. So not only has it got this emotional cachet, in 48 hours, 10,266,000 in 48 hours. Why didn't we think of this? Why haven't we got this company? A couple of $1 billion we could share around us in the room would be nice, wouldn't it? The internet is also a remarkable place, and Cisco, who are considered to be the plumbers of the internet, put a lot of the infrastructure in place that makes the internet work. John Chambers gave a presentation, and I'm going to play it for you. But I thought, I'm not sure whether I showed this last year, but a minute on the internet. Right. So what happened? Intel commissioned this look at the internet. So we're talking about 1 minute. Now, wouldn't it be fabulous if you had a little corner store bookshop, and you decided to call it Amazon, and you decided to put it online? How much do you think you'd be making every minute? $83,000 a minute, because it's now a department store online, probably the biggest department store online. Almost broke after the first 12 months in business, had to get a huge loan at 18 months, and then they've never looked back. $83,000 a minute. 477,000 apps are downloaded, that's why there's billions of them. Twitter, 100,000 tweets, and that more than doubles if you're a Kardashian and you decide to take your clothes off. 204 million emails. This is every minute. 20 million photo views, 3,000 photos are uploaded. 1.3 million video views on YouTube. YouTube's now the second biggest search engine worldwide. 6 million Facebook views. And Cisco's vision that tomorrow starts here. It's kind of a good place to be. This is the video that they've put together.
Remember when people wondered what the internet could really do? Today, we wonder if there's anything it can't do. And the incredible part, the internet is just getting started. Because while a significant portion of the world's population is online, only a fraction of things are. But these things, devices, cars, appliances, even the natural world, are rapidly waking up, connecting, and forming something new. Something that will transform the way people connect to each other and to the world around them. We call it the Internet of Everything. It's a massive opportunity with a global value at stake of $14.4 trillion over the next decade. And as Cisco partners, you will reap the rewards of the Internet of Everything as you connect the previously unconnected. You'll help your customers envision new markets. You'll help them enable new kinds of connections. You'll help them expand access. And together with Cisco, you will continue to help your customers transform the way people everywhere work, live, play, and learn. Get ready to wake up the world and show up what the internet can really do. Because tomorrow starts here.
So you can see it was made for Cisco partners. Cisco claimed that the Internet of Everything, which last year was the Internet of Things, is now turned into everything, is worth $14 trillion. It's a huge amount of money, and certainly get the United States out of trouble. But the Internet of Things and the Internet of Everything is exactly where that information technology is taking us. And you can see that the connectivity with a variety of different devices with us in general. And in fact, I'd like to get that, the idea that 37 billion new things will be connected by 2020 on top of what's connected now. Half the world's population has access to the internet, and even that will grow. But once you've got everything connected to the internet, things change dramatically. So let's look at some of the things that might be changing. Certainly our homes, the connected home, is a big story in the not too distant future. And the ability to control a huge number of things in your home, in the connected home, and also having smart appliances. Now, it's not like that you're going to be standing there talking to your appliance, although that's on the cards. Smart appliances will be operable from anywhere in the world. So if you're driving home, you can set a number of things to start. You can get your fridge to give you a list of things that haven't been put back in, so you can get a shopping list. I do that now. I've got a fridge that actually does register what is taken out, but not what's put in. My wife hates it and I love it. I'm not so sure about a smart vacuum cleaner. I think that might be a step too far. But the whole connected home and the connected car, You know, already in Europe with mid-range cars, so Mercedes, Audi, Volvo, BMW, when you drive into the dealership, the car is connecting automatically via Wi-Fi, and the 13 computers, 13 or 14 computers in those cars are downloading all their information. So when they tune your car, they tune it for the way it's been driven, how many hours it's been driven, the speeds it's been driven at, the climate, the temperature. I had an amazing experience. Just got to tell you this quickly. Oh yeah, I was in the Northern Territory 2 weeks ago. It was Business Month in the Northern Territory, and I was in Alice Springs, and we had to go from Alice Springs to what's the town? Tennant Creek, and then Catherine, and then I had to come back from Tennant Creek to Alice Springs. Now, the distance from Alice Springs to Tennant Creek is just on 500 kilometres. I said to the guy, gee, that's like 5 hours in the car. He said, what are you talking about? It's 2 hours in the car. I said, what? And we were doing at one point 220 kilometres an hour. And oh, yeah, you don't want to do it. Interestingly, in Sweden, no new road will be built without having technology embedded in it so that the road and the car can talk to each other. And there'll be driverless cars. Now, I know a lot of you can't imagine being in a driverless car. I couldn't imagine it until I did it. It's the scariest thing in the world. In Korea, there's a new city, I can't pronounce the name, but a new city that's been built. There's about 220,000 people in the city, and all the cars from about 8 kilometres, 8 to 10 kilometres from the central business district, all cars are, you've got to have a driverless car. So you're sitting in the front seat, and the car automatically pulls over, so you're on the grid. The car pulls over, and the driver and the passenger turn around to face the passengers in the back. If not, then you just get out the newspaper, read it, and the car drives itself. Well, I've got to tell you, for the first 10 minutes or so, having your back to the oncoming traffic is... But not only that, the neat thing is they never have a traffic jam, because the cars can travel up to 100 kilometres an hour with about that distance between the cars, the ability for the cars to be kept at a constant. So if all the cars slow down together, all the cars speed up together. It's quite remarkable. Once you get used to it, it's just the way to be. And it saves a huge amount of time. So we've already got GPS in our cars, and the connected car is something that we're doing. And in fact, Volvo have gone so far as to say by 2020 the technology in their cars, the car will be so aware of what's happening around it. They claim that no one, unless they're trying to, will be killed or severely injured in a Volvo car. They're prepared to guarantee it. So it says Volvo promises a crash-proof car by 2020. Amazing. And already the connected car has all these companies involved. The idea of the cars being able to talk to each other so that they use the embedded technology in the road to drive at a certain speed. And I mean, it's a huge leap of faith after you've driven a car for as many years as most of you have, to take your hands off the wheel and just let it drive. It's quite remarkable. But the whole connected car thing is a huge story, an enormous amount of information, and you've got to hope that, is there anyone here from Microsoft? That you don't get the blue screen of, because it will be, you know, if it decides to go, you know, on the fritz, it wouldn't be a pretty sight. This is one of the huge areas, wearable technology. In fact, I'm wearing a digital watch that talks to my phone. If I want to make a phone call, I just pick Tracy Light, talk to the, I have to say, hello, okay, Google. So embarrassing, you're walking around going, okay, Google, so we're seeing a whole range of wearable technology, and it's all wonderful, and 5 minutes. It's all incredibly wonderful. I want to show you a video, so I'll do this really quickly. So Apple is definitely in the game. We're going to see an Apple Watch by March next year. This didn't work, the Google Glass. It's just not a good idea. Wearable technology and healthcare devices. This is where it's really going to come into its own. So can I just show you a very quick little video, because this is an area I believe, I fervently believe the information that can be garnered by technology that's embedded in our clothing will make a huge amount of difference, and will lead to traditional GPs being extinct by 2025. I won't do that, but I'll do this.
In the early days of the automobile, there were few instruments providing information to the driver and none guiding us to our destination. Fast forward to the driving experience of today, and we have a wealth of digital information at our disposal, providing us real-time status on how our car is performing, how fast we're going, and alerting us to real and potential issues. Most of us have also used internet-connected GPS systems, which show us our current location relative to our destination, inform us how long it will take to reach our destination, provide us with turn-by-turn directions, and even advise us on alternate routes to take based on changing traffic conditions or the status of the road ahead. We've come to rely upon all of these tools in our cars, and we're now poised to enter into an analogous scenario with respect to our health. Just like the modern driving experience, when it comes to our health, we should also have a predetermined destination, as well as real-time, continuous information on how our body is performing, along with critical updates on our health status and progress made towards reaching our planned destination. Today, this is quite possible, but while possible, the reality is that most of us don't use anything like the digital tools we have in our cars while driving. Instead of ongoing insights into our health status, the healthcare system is typically characterized by episodic annual checkups, which provide only intermittent status update on our health. The exception is when something unexpected triggers a visit. For the most part, consumers and our healthcare providers are largely unaware of our health status, except on an intermittent or emergent basis. But it doesn't have to be this way. There is an alternative to this health and healthcare status quo. As we have seen, the digital revolution has brought us many powerful technologies, smaller and more powerful computers, the internet, cell phones, cloud computing, and social networking. The digital and genetics revolutions are changing how we and our healthcare providers diagnose, monitor, manage, and improve our health. We all want to be healthy, and many of us want to perform better at sports, possibly lose weight, sleep better, and avoid or reduce the risk of contracting preventable diseases, plus monitor and...
Okay, I'm just going to stop there. So this watch, I've just finished on this. This watch, it's an LG G Watch R. I don't know what that means, but it's connected to my phone, and I'm involved in an experiment with my surgeon. So I had a quintuple bypass. My life was saved by my wife because I stubbornly ran up a flight of stairs. I was out of breath, and she said, I don't like this. And you know, a woman's intuition, you should never question it. And I said, no, we're busy. I haven't exercised. And she said, no, we're going to see our GP. The GP had an ambulance there in 5 minutes, and I was on an operating table about 2 hours later. And the doctor said to me, you know, had your wife not made you go to that doctor, you had about 2 or 3 days, that was it. The ability for my weight to be checked, my blood pressure, my glucose levels, my oxygen level, is all possible with this. It connects to the phone, and the phone sends the information to my doctor. I've had 4 calls in the past 3 months from the doctor changing my medication. So it's the ability to change medication on the fly. Traditionally, I would have been seeing him once a year, and you know, even then, something might happen, I might miss the appointment and it's pushed out for 18 months. It's almost impossible to get a meeting. But having this technology not on my wrist could be embedded in my shirt. Of course, that would look cool. But wearable technology is going to make all the difference in terms of the way your health is monitored. And I think for our age group, it's just the most wonderful thing, a wonderful bit of technology.